I remember, I don't really think about that much, but when I was like a teenager, thought about all the time. It's like, what's the right level of difficulty in your life? Because it's not zero, and it's not all the difficulty.
Hmm.
And I remember being really fixated on this, perhaps because I was in some ways so privileged, and in other ways I didn't feel like my life was like smooth and easy. And so that question really bugged me. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I wonder, I guess I'm just curious if that question feels a lot more real now that you're, I mean, because as parents, I think, part of what you do is you set up, you decide in some ways the limitations for your child.
Hmm.
Are they gonna, are you gonna give them, are you gonna, pay for them to join a team or get lessons in something, or will they do it on their own? Will they go to this school or that school? You live here or there? Do you let them watch TV? And I could imagine all those questions just suddenly becoming a lot more real and less theoretical when you're in that role.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ethan. It is real. It is a big part of my motivation as I move from the part of my life where I'm like, okay, am I okay? Am I safe? I kind of always have that like, young kid mentality, growing up in a tougher neighborhood, like, is anyone gonna like, attack me or something like that? I gotta like fend for myself. Um, so as I move from that to, well, I'm an adult and I have to take adult responsibilities and I have to be a good member of my community and principally a good member of my family. And so how do I bring um, someone into the world in a way that is as good as possible for them? I mean, I want that, and so I have a bit of an unorthodox view. You won't be surprised to learn about what to give my son. Like, I'm much more on the side of giving him a lot. Um, I think that if you give a lot of time and love and understanding, conversation, really listen and take in his thoughts and respond and look at him and stuff like that, I think that if I do that and he has, like, let's say, a lot of toys and knows from a young age that his all of his schooling will be paid for and a down payment on his house will be made, I don't see a problem with that, because life is going to be difficult for him anyway. Like, even though I acknowledge what Grace says, that you have a lot of privilege, um, the caricature that it, because again, I'm just basing on what I know of Ethan. Um, you have difficulty too. I know that because you're human, and that's plenty to think about, and that's plenty of a puzzle to solve. And I love the notion, I'm still figuring this out, but I love the notion that he has to struggle with meaning more than money. And let that be his struggle, is how he deals with, the people around him and the issues that are important to him and what positive difference he makes. I'd rather him just have room to focus on that. Now, if I completely eliminate money, that's not a good idea. If I basically am like, oh, you'll be fine for the rest of your life, I think that's not a good idea, because it removes any ability for him to be self-reliant. And what happens if he blows the money? Or, I feel like it's not a good idea to take away all ability to fend for yourself. But I'm not going to make him work unnecessarily, or pretend that he doesn't have a privileged kind of situation. I want him to take that situation and struggle on higher level problems. So that's currently one way that I want to kind of solve the thing that I didn't get to do enough. I'm trying to do it now, but curious if anyone has a reaction to that. Again, this is an environment where you could be
No, I
like,
just think that's a really interesting way of like, that kind of concept of, they're struggling for meaning instead of financial security. Is I was just kind of thinking, I wonder what my life would look like if my struggle wasn't for safety and financial security and instead it was for meaning. Like,
mhm,
and I definitely think that I would have chosen a different career path. I mean, I know what I would have chosen. I would have become a lawyer and been on that path, that's what I would have wanted to do. And so I just think that's interesting. And I think it's also good though that you're not trying to say that he's not privileged, like you're acknowledging it. You're acknowledging that that is a privilege that he has, but he also is going to have struggles. And Ethan, for you, I didn't mean that your life is perfect. I just meant that it's a privilege that you even get to consider that lifestyle as an option, you know? So I didn't mean that, oh, your life is perfect. And so, yeah, that's a really interesting thought of raising a child.
Yeah.
How old is your son right now?
He's 3.
I can share, I do think I have a partially skeptical or sort of aversive reaction to what you said. And I think part of that is because I'm thinking of people who are not your son, who are the people that I grew up around, who were so spoiled, and that like I totally defined myself against them, and kind of like my whole like it really shaped who I am.
Mhm.
Like, and I think part of the value, like my valuing impracticality and kind of like the path I'm doing is not a particularly practical one, of doing a PsyD program that like it's, and for better or worse, wasn't in response shaped as a reaction against those kids. And so I have a sort of aversion to that. And also this like question of whether children are capable of wrestling with the questions that you're hoping for your child to wrestle with, or whether that's something you can only wrestle with when you're older. And perhaps there's something that perhaps artificial limitations can do something for a younger child. And I say this, I don't know shit about parenting. I'm so far apart from that life. I don't know it's not like from a psychological perspective I've been educated in any particular way about children. So I'm just saying in my sort of gut reaction, that like image came to me of like, I totally agree with in principle what you're saying, but does that apply when someone is quite young and really just learning how, like, for example, we think about like frustration tolerance,
Mhm.
is like how do you build frustration tolerance if there's no limitations? And I'm not saying you're saying there's no limitations. Life provides its own limitations.
Mhm.
But something that came to mind is, well, maybe there is a need to impose some artificial ones as well in order for kids to learn how to deal with things. I mean, to sum it up, to do things they don't want to do, because life is full of things that you don't want to do. And I feel like I grew up around so many people who had none of that. And I feel like I have like a medium amount of it.
Mhm.
And I still see people that I meet in adult life who have so much more of it than I do, for better and worse.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic, because I'm still figuring it out, but from what I can tell, like with my son, I feel like he has just plenty of limitations, but I don't impose artificial ones. Because I'm not counting as artificial keeping to his schedule. He has to take a bath before bedtime every night. He has to brush his teeth. We brush his teeth twice a day. He doesn't like those things. He also would prefer to eat ice cream all the time. And he's not allowed to run in the street, and he's not allowed to be mean to people. He can talk about having negative feelings, but he's not allowed to hit someone or call them a nasty name. I mean, he can, but then he's going to have the negative reaction from us. So I just feel like he has plenty of limitations without me saying, you know what, I'm gonna make him work for every single cent until he's 40 or something like that. And there's quite a few people that believe that that is the right way. I truly am in the minority in saying like, no, I want him to not have a lot of friction points around, money. I want to have some friction because he has to be able to make his own money or understand that it's very valuable to have, and it allows for subsistence and comfort and a number of things. But yeah, if he's so inclined, I want him to struggle with meaning. But the way you grew up and the people you're talking about, I actually think about that a lot too. And this is my current theory I'm operating on, and I could be wrong, is that a lot of the stereotypical spoiled rich kids got money in place of other things. And that's the big problem. Not completely in place, but at least partially in place. So if you don't spend a lot of time with your kid and you give them money, that's a recipe for them to be depressed and messed up, because they need your time. And there's just something missing that's being filled by something not as valuable. Even if you spend a lot of time with them, if you're not really connecting with them and listening to their feelings and emotions and thoughts, which I think is like that next level, I think a lot of people don't realize is happening. That's also not good, and could create a feeling of emptiness or a problem, or a need to try to be better, act like you're better than others because you have money or something. But I guess my theory is that if you are truly very emotionally there for them, allow them to deal with the difficulties of life and don't rush in and save them from it. That would be a major error. If they are having an interpersonal conflict and I'm like, I'll take you out of school, don't worry about it, like that would be terrible. But that is that's my experiment. I think that is good. I hypothesize it's good. I don't know yet.
From the rich kids I've met and who've, have had everything paid for, I definitely see their parents supplementing things with money and gifts, or, experiences like going to rich camps and things like that.
Mhm.
And so I'm really interested to see how your kid's going to turn out, if he's actually being, because you seem like someone who's very emotionally intelligent, and it's going to be very interesting to see how your kid turns out with a very emotionally intelligent parent who's intentionally parenting them. And I'm wondering if maybe your kid might be super, like, have his rebellion phase of being anti-emotionally intelligent as a teenager, or, it's going to be really interesting.
He probably will. I would
Yeah,
have to think,
probably.
because I care so
Super
much about it.
cool.
Somehow I bet he will.
Would be,
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely. It's an interesting thought.
it is. I don't know if Ethan, anything came to mind from that, since your question brought up all that
Yeah.
content. Yeah.
No, it's all very interesting, and it's interesting how, yeah, the conversations between the three of us are in one sense philosophical, but like also totally rooted in our actual experiences of the world. You know what I mean? And not abstract at all. And again, to go abstract again, but like I think there is this question that's like core to this whole topic, which is like, I feel that I think was like undergirding what I was saying, which is like, I feel like everything that I am, and I don't know if this is a healthy thought or an unhelpful thought, but I feel like everything I am is because of the struggles I've had, not like that is who I am, or at least everything valuable or sort of like tough. And it's that's such a complicated thing, because most of the time we want fewer struggles.
Mhm.
And yet I don't know who I would be. I certainly wouldn't be me
Mhm.
if not for them.